G'day, ZiggyD here. Today I've got some footage for you guys of the upcoming Warbands Softcore 3-month Challenge League in the Path of Exile Awakening expansion pack coming up on July 10th. Community manager Bex from Grinding Gear Games was kind enough to send me some B-roll footage that I can share with you guys here and provide a little bit of analysis of, so you guys can get a bit of an idea of what you're getting into and maybe pick which league you want to play so you can start planning out your builds. The Warbands Challenge League will have you explore a lot more of raid class than you have in past Challenge Leagues. What's going to happen is random zones and endgame maps will have inside of them various different warbands that you can hunt down and do combat with. These warbands will also drop unique items, unique shields, unique to each of the different warband types, and unique rings that can drop from the leaders of these warbands as well. On top of that, apparently there's also going to be some special gear mods that can't drop anywhere else that will be available only from warband members. At the launch of the league, there's going to be 3 different warbands. There's going to be a fire, a lightning, and an ice-themed warband, one each. There is the potential that ZiggyD will be adding more as the league progresses as well. I imagine we could see something like a physical warband of stone or a chaos warband of anarchy. These warband encounters will begin by spawning rather randomly in zones, and they may have you explore and head to different zones that you might not usually go to in an effort to hunt them down and hunt their unique items. Now apparently they'll also react to your efforts to hunt them, so I can assume that if you spend a lot of time hunting down a particular warband in a particular area, then they might start moving their spawns to another location, or the other warbands might start becoming more predominant. So for example, if you spend a lot of time culling off the fire warband, then the lightning and cold warband could become a little stronger. What makes these warband encounters particularly engaging is that there'll be several different tiers of warband members that you'll be able to hunt down and engage in combat with, and on top of that, they seem to have particularly smart AI and synergistic builds as well. So the lowest tier of warband encounters will be simple ones like this one, where you're just fighting a couple of different warriors themed around the element of the warband. So a couple of different warriors using ice attacks or using fire attacks. They'll use a variety of different player attacks, but there won't be too much thought that needs to go into these particular fights. It'll be like fighting sort of 3 weaker versions of Exiles, I guess. However, as you move up the tiers, you'll start encountering support characters and potentially even elites and leaders as well. ZiggyD mentioned that the leaders will have auras that enhance their party members and that they will direct the party members to attack you, but if the party members start taking too many casualties, then they will step into the fight themselves, so they react to the way that you do combat with them. I didn't have access to any footage of the leaders and how they work, but I do have some good footage of the support characters and the way that they play, and it is really quite interesting. Some of the support characters do things like the Ice Warband support characters can cast Frost Wall, which then the warriors using Cyclone can actually cyclone through, so their idea is to pin you down while their party members can still cyclone and move through those Frost Walls freely, because Cyclone allows you to pass through those Frost Walls. This sort of combat synergy here makes for really interesting and engaging encounters. The fire support casters use Searing Bond, and they actually drop it on themselves, and then they use Flame Dash to teleport through you, dropping fire on the ground and putting the Searing Bond beam over your character, and then they cast Flammability as well. I've seen the support casters use a variety of different curses as well. Some of them use like Frostbite or Flammability to make you take more damage from their allies' attacks or their own attacks and spells, and others will use things like Enfeeble to make your character weaker. The support characters also seem quite intelligent too in the way that they use their skills, like the positioning of their Searing Bonds and flame dashing through you and cursing you, making sure you have a curse up, and also playing somewhat evasively too as well. While the warriors will try and pursue you relentlessly, trying to take you down, the support characters will try and keep their distance a little bit and use those supportive curses and abilities. We don't know much about the rewards for fighting these warbands yet, but we have heard that there are going to be unique shields independent of each of the different warbands, and then unique rings that can only be dropped by the leaders as well. Hopefully these unique shields and rings are quite thematic and build enabling and somewhat powerful as well to encourage people to hunt down these warbands, so that you really have to seek the highest levels of warband encounters out and figure out ways to fight them as well. This sort of design too, making synergistic builds like parties of enemies that have skills that work well together, like for example that Cyclone Frostwall combo, and making the player have to think a little bit more about how they engage them, I think is a good sign for the game too, because sure, they could work the warbands as a feature into the core game if it goes well, and I suspect that will happen, but we could also see other fights like boss fights and just random encounters throughout the game added in later acts and added to the previous acts when they do redesigns could be much more intelligent, thought out, and much more engaging to play. The final thing I noticed is that there seems to be 4 tiers of the different warband encounters. If you look on this map screen just here, you'll notice that there are little circles next to each of the warband encounters on the map. So you can see which type of warband it is firstly. There'll be flames up the top, or there'll be lightning down the bottom, or there'll be cold down the bottom, around that sort of warband kind of horn symbol thing that signifies as the warband somewhere in that zone. And then on top of that, or to the sides of those little encounter symbols, are little yellow dots, and these dots seem to stack up. So you have one which I can only assume is things like a basic warrior encounter, like you fight 3 warriors and it's quite a simple encounter. 2 should signify something like support characters, so you have some of those support spellcasters. 3 could then signify a furthest type of support character tier, or maybe like an elite warrior or something. And then the final one could signify that this is actually where the leader is as well. So the leader of that actual warband, who will likely drop those unique rings that we've heard about. So overall, I think this is one of the most exciting and interesting sounding challenge leagues we've had so far. I've particularly enjoyed like the design idea behind this as well. The idea that it gets us out and experiencing more pieces of content. Now this will be relevant in maps and outside of maps as well too. So it could mean that while you're leveling, you're more encouraged to go off into another little zone, or when you're at early end game, you're exploring different zones that you would normally not be in. Where you would normally just be farming ledge or aqueduct or something like that. You might, veer off into another zone to go and hunt down a warband. This gets more value out of the game, gives us a much greater variety of experiences too. And we've heard from at least the Tempest side of things, so the other challenge league, that these will be global, and that players will be able to interact and give each other tips on where like the warbands are or the Tempests are located. Now, I'm not 100% sure of whether this sort of global approach applies to warbands, but I really hope it does, because that's the sort of thing that gets the community really engaged with each other and interacting as well. So, saying that, check out Ledge at the moment, it's got like the highest tier of fire warband in it. And I think that is quite an exciting premise. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this little bit of footage that I managed to get my hands on some of my rampant speculations. We'll see in a couple days, I guess, if it's as exciting and interesting and engaging as I suspect this challenge league is going to be. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share them in the comments below. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.